Hey, welcome back to Chalk Talk, where we take Army doctrine, tactics, techniques, and procedures, and we break them down and apply them to Armor 3 Milsim. Today, we'll be going over offensive operations again, specifically the attack, and within the attack, the raid. This is probably one of the most common and thought about offensive operations for uh, generally military and also Milsim, SOF, made famous by, Zero Dark 30 um, and popular media like that. Okay, we're back in our AO here. We have objective Uno situations. We got enemy holding this kind of farm area here, and we know our mission is to find destroy weapons cache. It's assumed to be 401, but it can be anywhere in this compound here. We have Condor 1-1 up in the air, currently giving us ISR. That's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. And this is what has been marked out by our eyes in the skies, right? So, west side pretty heavy with bunkers. We have some teams in the middle of the 100, 200, and 300 series. An MTLB over in the southeast corner, a bunker towards this northeastern MSR coming out, and then some squads in the 500 series. Over to the southwest, we have our assault positions. Right now, I added two more teams to our troop here. Again, it's a six-man teams here. So I got assault position Bravo, Alpha. We remember them last time. They conducted move it to contact at NAI 0102. And I just got Charlie and Delta teams in their assault positions, Charlie and Delta behind phase line Bill. Again, our movement control measures, we got phase line Allen, phase line Bill, phase line Chris, and that's what we have so far. Okay, so our first look at this is again, we know the enemy, right? So ISR gave us a picture of the enemy. The next thing is to understand the terrain. Looking at the map here, I know this is high ground, going to low ground here. So I know it's going to be advantageous for us to attack from either the southwest or the west rather than north side, 'cause it's pretty open, or the east side here. Um, we'll talk about some different ways that we can attack this objective. But for now, we'll conduct a raid in the most typical Ranger School esque fashion of a raid. What is a raid? A raid is an offensive operation, right? And specifically, it's a version of an attack that's meant to temporarily seize the objective with a planned withdrawal, right? So we're going to take this objective and then we're going to leave it, right? So we're seizing the ground, leaving. The purposes of a raid are to secure information, capture personnel or equipment, destroy a capability, rescue and recover individuals and equipment, or confuse an adversary. So in this case, money, we are destroying a capability, being a supply cache. Right? It's broken down into 5 phases. The first phase being the infiltration, right? So this is the point where we're at here. We're infiltrating. The second phase is isolating this objective, right? So we want to get around, isolate it from any other enemy forces and or civilians that can come into the area that we're trying to conduct this offensive operation. And phase three is conducting a essentially a surprise attack using all available firepower for shock effect, right? So an attack we know establishing a support by fire and an assaulting element in indirect fires to attack it. And then phase four, we seize the objective, accomplishing our assigned task, and then finding the weapon cache or the thing that we're there to do, right? We take the objective, we go in, we find the cache, we go in, we find the person we're there to grab, and then we get out. And that is exactly into phase five, we withdraw, right? So phase one, infill, two, isolate, three, attack, four, seize, five, withdraw. Okay, so in order for us to plan it right, we just identified some key tasks, and we'll go ahead and we'll mark those up now. All right, so we know already from doctrine there's some key tasks we got to do. We got to assault, we got to provide a support by fire, right? Because those go into a surprise attack, and then we have to isolate the objective, right? So based on our elements, right, our task organization here, I got 4 elements here. Right, so I'll use one element to isolate, one to provide support by fire. Based on this objective, the size of it, we'll probably use 2 to assault. So let's go ahead and get each of these elements, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, task and purpose. Okay, so we went ahead and we broke down those 3 tasks of assault, support by fire, and then isolate, and we assigned them to teams here, right? So we got Alpha and Bravo doing that assault, and the task specifically clearing the 100-400 series, objective Uno, the purpose is in order to locate and destroy enemy caches, right? So same purpose for Alpha and Bravo, the assaulting elements. However, they have a different series to clear. So for Alpha, clearing the 100 and 400 series, and then Bravo, the 200, 300, and 500 series. Okay. Charlie provides support by fire on objective Uno, and that purpose in IoT means in order to deny enemy free maneuver, right? So they're going to establish support by fire, and as these assault elements are coming through, they're going to suppress enemy on the objective, so they cannot move maneuver on our assaulting elements that are trying to clear the objective. And then finally, Delta is going to isolate objective Uno, and that's going to prevent enemy QRF from entering the objective, right? So establish blocking positions to isolate, and sometimes this position for isolate on raids can be also containment, right? So people might be trying to leave in retrograde, or we call them squirters. They're trying to squirt off the objective. They can contain the objective, but at the same time isolate it from any QRF coming in. All right, phenomenal. We just identified task, assigned them to unit, but now we got to determine who is the most important unit here. Who is our decisive operation, right? We need our decisive operation, our shaping operation, and our supporting operations. For this, we have our decisive operation and our supporting operation. And I'm going to assess because we had our 400 series and specifically building 401 was assessed by our intel guys to be where the supply cache is. We're going to say that Alpha is decisive operation, and then everybody from Bravo, Charlie, Delta, they're all shaping operations 1, 2, and 3. And there we go. We have it lined up. DO being decisive operation, and then SO being shaping operation. So we got decisive operation and shaping operation 1, 2, and 3. Now, something important for us to note, right, is we're going to have 4 units on this objective. We need what's called maneuver control measures. I said we were going to talk about it before when we were talking about phase lines. Now, this is where we get into putting some control measures in here. That way, our units aren't shooting each other and they're not running into each other on the objective. Okay, so the first thing I like to think about here is I like to think about my support by fire and where I put them. Normally, you can work like how we in place. We in place a phrase called ass backwards, and we'll talk about that shortly. But we in place security, support by fire, and then our assaulting elements. But I like to think of the support by fire because if I cannot suppress and fix the enemy on the objective, then my assaulting element is going to have a really hard time. And these guys at support by fire need pretty open line of sight to be able to engage effectively with crew serve weapons and or long range precision rifles. So I keep highlighting down here because I find this is a pretty good spot to put a support by fire. So I think here, especially with this tree line here, it's going to cut off some vision. But I think being here in this tree line and with the terrain, looks like I'll have pretty good sight line. And I'm only working with 150, 200 meters maybe on the objective here. So we'll be able to get some good left limit and right limits on this objective. And we just slapped it as support by fire Charlie 1, Charlie 1, Charlie being who we tasked, and then 1 being their first support by fire position. Now I noticed this tree line here, so it's probably going to cut off everything from the 102 and the 2 series buildings here. The right side of the objective is going to cut it off here. So probably want to build a support by fire on this right side here. And if they can get a sight line from the grove of this trees here, this little spur of trees, might have good sight line to be able to suppress these buildings. So we'll go ahead and we'll build support by fire 2 right here. And also, I got support by fire Charlie 1 and Charlie 2. 2 spots for them to be able to suppress. Now, the next thing we got to look at is where are we assaulting from? Okay, so if we're looking at where we're assaulting from, I think it's pretty simple here. We're on the west side, southwest of the objective here is how we oriented. So it kind of makes sense for us to maybe skim maneuver, follow this tree line down, and assault west to east through this objective to keep us in a nice L compared to our support by fire, and should allow us to have pretty good clearance here.